Alright, friends, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chav Gimel, Daf 23 of Masechta Taanis. Wait, what is... I don't know. What number of Masechta is this? We started with Brachis, Shabbos, Erevin, Psachim, and then Shkolim, and then Yoma, and then what was after Yoma? I feel like Sukkah, and then Beitza, Rosh Hashanah. What up to Taanis? Wow, this is the 10th Masechta that we're learning, I guess. Really? That's insane. Alright, well, what do you want me to tell you? Well, friends, today's Daf 23 of Masechta Taanis, it's pretty gewaldig, if I may say so myself. We review the story of Choni HaMaigel, which is gewaldig. Then we learn about some of his grandchildren, which is also very gewaldig. So, all in all, it's a gewaldig daf. Friends, we're going to start on Daf Chav Beis, Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Let me see if I could try not to cough. That could be an interesting challenge for myself, to try not to cough during this episode. Let's see how it goes. Okay, says the Gemara, 2 lines from the bottom of Chav Beis, Amud Beis, Tanu Rabbanon, Nasati Geshmeichem B'itom, and I'll give the rain on time. Lo shikara v'lo tzmeya, not drunk and not thirsty. Kilu, not too much, not too little. Benonis, just the right amount. Shekol zman she'agasham merubin mitashtashin es haaretz ve'eina motzia peris. Because if it's too much rain, so it just makes the land all weird, and it's not good for the fruits. So we don't want too much rain. Alternatively, bi'itom belele revi'iyos uvelele shabosos, that when it says at its proper time, it's on. Wow, it's pretty hard not to cough. I'm wondering if maybe I should just do it. I don't know. There you go. Alright, lasted about 2 lines. But I feel like it's better if I cough, and then at least it helps going forward, I think. Like, these words are a little bit better because I coughed, I think. I don't know, let's see. On Tuesday nights and on Friday nights. Shekain matzinu bimei Shimon ben Shatach. That's what we find in the days of Shimon ben Shatach. This is so geschmack. Of course, Shimon ben Shatach, as we've been saying, lived during the time of the Beis HaMikdash. It's amazing that we're learning about real people who lived during the time of the Beis HaMikdash. Insane. So that's how it was during the days of Shimon ben Shatach. Sheyordu lahem geshamim b'leilei reviyos u'b'leilei shabbosos. Oh, maybe that helps. Maybe the deep breath helps. Sheyordu lahem geshamim b'leilei reviyos u'b'leilei shabbosos. That in his days it taka rained on Tuesday nights and Friday nights. Interesting. Alright. What's tonight? Tonight's a Wednesday night. Is it raining? Maybe. Okay. Ad shenaisu chitim kichloyos, and the wheat kernels were like kidneys. Okay. V'sarim ki garine zeisim, and the barley kernels were like pits of olives. V'adoshim kidin reizav, and the lentils were like gold coins. Vitzaru meim dugma ledoris, and they set aside some of these as examples for future generations. Lodia kamachet gorim, to know how much the sin causes bad stuff to happen. Shenemar, as the apostle says, avonetseichem hitu ele v'chatoseichem monu atov mikem, that it's because of sins that we don't have good stuff like lentils that are the size of coins. If they hid them away, where are they? I wonder. That would be interesting to see, right? And similarly, we find in the days of Herod, that they were busy building the second temple, right? Rashi says, Hordis Sasun Binyan de Ezra. Hordis Herod, he knocked down the Beis HaMikdash that was built by Ezra. And he built it anew, right? It was the Gemara in Yoma, I think, says that the temple that was built by Hordus was mamish something else. They were busy building the temple, and it would rain at night. And then the next day, the wind would come and blow, and the clouds would go away, and the sun would come out. Then everybody would go back to their work, building the temple of Hordus. And they knew that clearly they were doing holy work, the work of heaven, building the temple, that all the rain was working out perfectly at night, and then during the day the wind would blow, and everything was perfect building conditions. All right, got more tea with honey. See if the combination of deep breaths and tea with honey, and of course, learning Torah with my friends at Babylon Talmud. Let's see if that will help combat the cough. Gewaldig. So one time they needed rain, which is interesting because we just said a minute ago how during the days of Shimon ben Shatach everything was perfect. It would rain on Tuesday nights and Friday nights. But then again, Choni HaMa'aga was during the days of Shimon ben Shatach, and there was a drought. And he had to really, really pray hard to get that rain. So, I don't know. I guess it depends on the year. Sorry, just drinking more tea. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, Zok the Gemara, Pam Achas, Yatsa Rov Adar, Velo Yadu Geshamim. That one time, most of Adar went out, and it still had not rained. Friends, that's bad news. Basically, the entire winter it didn't rain. Shalchu l'choni ha'maigel, so they sent over to Choni ha'maigel. Hispal v'yerdu geshamim. Can you pray? Take a deep breath. Oh, that didn't work at all. What do you want me to tell you? Anyways, that didn't work. Wait, let me try a deep breath. 1 sec. Wow, that's good. Okay. Okay, so they sent to Choni HaMaigel, can you pray for us that it should rain? So Yitaka prayed for them, and it didn't rain, Lamaise. So Yitaka made a circle, and he stood in the circle, like Habakkuk the prophet did. As the pasuk says, I'm going to stand on my watch, and I'll stand on the siege. He wasn't going nowhere. I'm in the front of Ribono Shel Olam. And Choni HaMaigel says, Master of the world. Wait, another deep breath. Alright. Your children have put their trust essentially in me. That I am like it's like I live in the household of the Eibishter. Nishba'ani b'shmecha b'shimcha agadol. Says Choni HaMaigel, I swear in your great name, Eibishter, she'nizaz mikan, that I ain't going nowhere. Ad shetarachem al banecha. I am not leaving the circle until you have mercy on your children. Ischilu g'sham minatfin. So the rains began to drip. So the rains began dripping a shtickle. Amru Tamidov, Choni HaMaigel's student said to him, Rebbe, teacher, we want to see you without dying. If it only rains at this rate, we're in big trouble. It seems like the Eibishter is just bringing rain to be yotzezan. He's just bringing rain to, so that you'll leave him alone. So then Choni HaMaigel goes back to the Eibishter. He says, Eibishter, that's not what I asked for. I want rain that's going to fill up pits, ditches, and caves. Yardu bezaf. So then it started to hurricane like you've never seen a hurricane before. Are you ready for this, friends? Ad shekol tipa v'tipa kimlo pi chavis. That every single drop of the rain was like the mouth of a barrel. V'sheru chachomim shein tipa pchusa milog, and that each drop was the size of a log. Friends, big drops. This is no joke, this rain. Amr Tamidov, and then his students again said to him, Rebbe, we want to see you without dying. I mean, this is too much. Deep breath. Alright, not bad. This rain, this torrential downpour is pashit gonna destroy the world. So Chona Michael goes back and he says to the Eibishter, this is not what I asked for. I want rains of blessing, of geschmack, of gewaldig. Yadu kisiknan. Wait, deep breath. No, we're good, we don't need it. Yadu kisiknan. So then, wait, deep breath. Yadu kisiknan. And then it started to rain very nicely. But so nicely and so much, and it just kept on raining until the nation went up to the Temple Mount because it was raining so much. Amrulo, and they said to Choni Amaigel, Rebbe, just like you prayed that it should rain, also pray so that the rain should go away. So Kilu, thank you very much for praying for rain, but okay, we have what we need. It's time for the rain to go away and come again another day. But says the Choni Amaigel that, look, I have the following tradition, that you don't pray to God to remove too much good. Too much good, just let it keep on coming. But nonetheless, Aviuli Parodah, bring for me a cow for Thanksgiving. Aviulo Parodah, they brought him a cow for Thanksgiving. Somach shteyod of olav, he put his two hands on the cow, and he said before God, Ribono shel olam, Master of the world, Amcha Yisrael shotzeisim mitzrayim, your nation Israel that you took out of Egypt, Einon yicholin lo birov tova, they're not able to handle too much good, v'lo birov puranos, and not too much bad. Kaista aleim einon yicholin laimod, if you get angry at the Yidden, they'll be unable to stand. Hishpaita aleim tova, and when you give them too much good, einon yicholin laimod, they're not able to handle that either. They're a very sensitive bunch, these Yidden. They don't want too much, they don't want too little. Alright. Sounds like Jackie Mason or something. Talking about juice. Deep breath. Okay, Yiratzim b'fanecha, may be the will before you, she'yifsiku agushamim, that the rains should stop. V'yehei revach ba'olam, and there should be revach, salvation, chilling outness in the world. Miyad noshva aruach, immediately the wind blew, v'nespazru ha'ovim, and the clouds went away, mizarcha achama, and the sun shone, v'yotzu ha'am, la'asodeh, and the Yidden went out to the fields, v'eviu loim kmeinu vitreous, and brought in truffles and mushrooms. So kilu, the rain stopped, and it was mamish a gewalt, like they had everything that they needed, mushrooms and truffles. Yeah, I think that those are expensive items. They were just around. You could just hop them around. Shalach, oop, that was a cough. Okay, deep breath. I think that this deep breath thing is actually a good strategy. Friends, did you know about that? Deep breaths help for coughing fits. Also, tea just kind of tastes good. Shalach lo Shim ben Shatach. So Shim ben Shatach sent to Choni Amaigel. Choni ata, if not for the fact that you're the great Choni Amaigel, Kozrani alecha nidui, I would put you in excommunication. Shilu shanim k'shnei Eliyahu shemaftechos k'shavim biyado, because even if it were the years of Elijah the prophet, that he has the keys to the rain, he mamish had access to the keys of the rain. Still, the way that you acted before God saying the Eibishter, I want this, I don't want that. Yeah, I'm not leaving the circle. I swear. This is not a way to talk to the Eibishter. Wait, deep breath. But what can I do for you, Choni? That at the end of the day, you sin before the Eibishter, and yet he still does what you want him to do. Like a son that sins before his father, and yet his father continues to do what the son wants. He says, Father, go take me so that I can bathe in hot water. Go take me and wash me off in cold water. Alright, hot water, cold water. Tenli egozim, give me nuts, shkedim, almonds? No, what are egos? I forget. Yeah, shkedim I think are almonds. Why not? Afarsekim, peaches, rimonim, pomegranates. This this little guy, the little guy, he asks his father for all sorts of things. V'nosilon, the father gives it to him. Ve'olav hakasav omer, and it says about V'alecha hakasav omer, and says Shimon ben Shatach T'choni Amaygol, that about you the pasuk says Yismach avicha v'imecha, your father and mother will be happy. V'sagol yoladtecha, and the one who gave birth to you will rejoice. All right, very good. So it's a story of Choni Amaygol again. But again, it's very interesting because we said at the top of the daf that during the days of Shimon ben Shatach, the rain seems to have been perfect, right? Tuesday nights, Friday nights, and then all of a sudden you get something like this year where there was like absolutely no rain at all, like pretty tragic. All right, I'm running out of tea. Maybe I'll chop some water soon. Where are we now? Tana Rabban, the rabbis taught, Mashalchu b'nei Lishkas Agazos l'choni Amaygol. What did the people from the Lishkas Agazos, from the temple of hewn stone, the Kohanim, the Sanhedrin there, so what did they send to Choni Amaygol? Batigzor Omer V'yakum lach, that you say something and the Eibishter does it for you. V'adrachecha nogaor, and on your ways there is light. Batigzor Omer ata gazartem milamaita. So Batigzor Omer, that you decreed from below. V'akadosh Baruch Hu mekayim b'marecha milamayla, and the Eibishter then is mekayim. He establishes what you say from above. So Kilu, you said send rain, and the Eibishter sent rain. And on your ways the light shone. That a generation that was dark and very sad, so you lit up with your prayers. Kishpilu vatomer geva, that even when you're low, then you're going to be high up. That was a cough. Another one. 1 second. Deep breath. Okay, works. That a generation that was low, you raised them up with your prayer. V'shach enayim yoshia, and somebody like squints will be saved. Okay, a generation that was sort of having a hard time because of its sins, you saved with your prayers. Himalet inoki, so you will save that which is not clean. Doshloha inoki, a generation that was not clean. Milatso b'tfilascha, you nonetheless saved with your prayer. V'nimlat bivor kapecha, milatso b'maisi yadecha haburin. You basically saved them with your actions that were very clear, I guess. Alright. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Yomim Shel Oso Tzadik, all the days. That didn't work out. That one did not work out at all. Alright, what can I tell you? Alright. Let's go weiter. Well, I guess sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Alright, we should go weiter. 1 second. It's not working so good. Let me grab some water. 1 second. Alright, maybe that'll help. Alright, let's go weiter. So all of the days of Chonia Michael, he was very troubled by the following verse. It says, Shiramalus b'shuv Hashem, as Shiva Sion Ainu Kachom, that the Eibishter will bring back the Yidden to, wow, this is bad. I think maybe the water is making it worse. Alright, forget about water. Just stick to deep breaths. Okay. So it's like we were dreaming, right? So now the between the first temple and the second temple, there was an exile of 70 years. So now, of course, Choni HaMichael was during the second temple. So he was reflecting on the period between the first temple and the second temple. And he was saying that period, it's like we were dreaming. And he was saying, is it possible that a fellow could sleep for 70 years? One day he was walking somewhere, and he saw that a certain fellow was planting a carob tree. He said to the fellow, how long does it take for a carob tree to start producing carobs? He says it could take 70 years. He says to the fellow, what, is it so clear to you that you're going to be living for 70 years, that you're going to ever be able to eat from this carob tree? He says, and the guy responds to Choni HaMichael, and he says, look, I found this world with carob trees in it already. Just like my father has planted carob trees for me, I am also going to plant carob trees for my offspring, even if I won't be able to enjoy them. Yosef Kakarach Rifta. So Choni HaMichael then went and he was eating epis. Also le shinta, and he poshet, fell asleep. Ahadra le mishunisa, and then some kind of like wall got built around him. Ichse me'eno, and he became hidden from sight. Nobody saw him at all. Venim shivin shnin, and he poshet, slept for 70 years. Friends, did you get that? He slept for 70 years. Kikom, when he woke up, okay, and he looks up, and lo and behold, there's a fellow chopping carobs from this carob tree. Omerle, atu deshatate, are you the fellow who planted this carob tree? Omerle, bar bre'ona, he says, no, that was my grandfather. I'm his grandson. Omerle, shmamina denai meshivin shnin, he says, oh, I must have been sleeping for 70 years. That must be an interesting reality. Kind of like when the clock changes and you wake up, you're not exactly sure if you slept, 5 hours or 6 hours or whatever. 70 years. Like he wasn't sure if he slept for 8 hours or 70 years. He finds out it's 70 years. He's like, oh, okay. I hope you didn't have a flight to catch or something, All right, that's another time, right? And you wake up and gotta catch a flight, set 5 alarms. Anyways, let's go weiter. He noticed that his donkey was still there, but with a lot of little baby donkeys. Also, Levese, so he went back home. He went back home to his house. Armalu, and he said to him, hey, Brei de Choni HaMichael Mikayim, is the son of Choni HaMichael still around? Armalu, Brei Leisa by Brei Yisai. He says, no, his son's not around, but his grandson is. Armalu, Ana Choni HaMichael. He says, friends, it's me, Choni HaMichael. I was just sleeping for 70 years, but it's me. Lo Emnu, they didn't believe him. Interesting. Also, the Beis HaMedrash, Shaminu l'Rabbana de Kamri. Then he goes to the study hall and he hears that the rabbis were saying, Nihirin Shmaitzin give Shnei Choni HaMichael. Wow, that was such a gewaldige, pshat, that it's as clear as during the days of Choni HaMichael. D'chiavu ayle lebeis midrasha kol kusha da'avalu l'rabban av mefariklu. That whenever during Choni HaMaigel's days, if ever they would go to the Beis HaMedrash and they had kashas, Choni HaMaigel would be able to answer them. Amru ana niu. And he says, hey, guess what? It's me, Choni. Lo aminu. They didn't believe him. They didn't give him proper respect. Cholish daite, Choni HaMaigel felt pretty modno because, family's not believing him. The Beis HaMedrash, nobody's believing him. Nobody is acknowledging who he is, his existence. By Rachme umis. So Yipashit prayed that he should just die right then and there after sleeping for 70 years. Says Rav, this is what the people say. O chavrusa o misusa. Either friendship or death. Choni HaMaigel didn't have friendship, so he says the only option otherwise was death. He prayed that he should die. Wow. Abba Chilkia, friends, you ready to learn about Abba Chilkia? Abba Chilkia, by Bray, the Choni HaMaigel Hava. Abba Chilkia was the grandson of Choni HaMaigel. And when the world needed rain, have Mishadre Rabbanon Legabe, they would send rabbis to go to Abba Chilkia, Uvay Rachme, to pray that there should be rain. Basi Mitra, and it should rain. Okay, so one time it happened that they needed rain. Shadar Rabbanon Zugad Rabbanon Legabe, the Uvay Rachme, the Nasi Mitra. So the rabbis sent a pair of rabbis to go to Abba Chilkia to ask for rain. Also, they got to his house and he wasn't there. Also, so they went out to the forest, to the field, and they found him darting. And he was like hoeing or weeding or working the field. They said hello. Vilo azbilu ape, and he didn't look at them. Bipanya, in the evening, manket tzive, when he was leaving the field and he had some wood with him, dar tzive umar b'chad kisfa, he put the wood and his spade on one shoulder, v'glima b'chad kisfa, and he put his cloak on the other shoulder. Kula orchel usay misani, he didn't wear shoes the entire way back home. Kimati lemaya sayim misani. But when he got to a place where there was water and he had to walk through water, so then he put on his shoes. Kimata leizme ve'ege, when he got to a place of thorns and thistles, the linu limane, so he lifted up his clothing so that they wouldn't get ripped. Kimata lemasa, when he got to his city, nafka devisu la'ape ki mikashta, so his wife greeted him adorned in jewelry. Kimata levese olas devisu bereisha, when they got to his house, Abba Chilkia's wife entered the house first. V'hadar ayaliu, and then he entered the house. V'hadar ayali rabban, and then the rabbis entered the house. Yosef v'karach rifta, he sat down to eat epis. V'lo amlu l'rabbanan tu krochu. He didn't suggest to the rabbis that they should come and share with him in the meal. Palagrifta li'nuke, and then he, divided up some bread for the children. To the older child he gave one bread, and to the younger child he gave two breads. Omar lol dvisu, and then Abba Chilkia says to his wife, look, it's obvious to me, I know why these rabbis came. They came to ask that it should rain, that I should pray for rain. So nu, my wife, let us go up to the roof and pray for rain. Maybe the Eibishter will give us some rain. And let us not sort of take the credit for bringing the rain. So Kilu, the rabbis came to asking for rain. If he would just pray for rain and it would rain, so then it's clear that it's coming from him. And then, he gets sort of all the credit and the recognition. He doesn't want that. So rather he figured maybe if they could sneak up to the roof and chop a tefillah over there, in sort of a more private way, maybe the rabbis won't realize that they prayed for the rain, and they won't have to sort of benefit their own interests. So Saku Legira Kam Iu B'chada Zavisa Vi B'chada Zavisa. So they went up to the roof. Abachilkia stood in one corner, his wife stood in another corner. And the rain cloud started moving in from his wife's corner before his corner. Right? So they went up to the roof to pray. They both prayed. She in one corner, he in the other corner, and the rain cloud started to come first in her direction. When he came down from the roof, he said to the rabbis, how come you've come? So Amrulay. So they said to him, Shadri lon Rabbanon ligabe demar, that the rabbis have sent us to come to you. To pray for rain. Amrulu, he said to them, Baruch hamakom shlei yitzrich eschem le'ab chilkya. So he says, wow, praise, blessed is God that you didn't even need Abba Chilkya because it's already raining. Amrulay, they said to him, Yodina Dimitra Machmaz Marudasa. They said, look, you didn't fool us. It's obvious that the rain came because you went up to the roof and prayed for rain. We get the trick. But maybe you can answer these other things that we are sort of curious about. How come when we asked, when we found you in the field and we said Shalom Aleichem, how come you didn't look at us? Amrulu, he said to them, because I was a day worker. Lo ivkar. And he figured that he didn't want to, be wasting time, so he didn't even look up. My timer dar martzive echad achad kisvei uglima achad kisvei. How come you put the wood on one shoulder and your cloak on the other shoulder? Amrulu talashula aisa, because it's a borrowed cloak. Lahachi shali lachi lo shali, and I borrowed it to wear it. I didn't borrow it to be a buffer between my body and some wood. My time kula orchel l'sayim my misane v'chimoto l'mayim sayim misane. How come the whole way back you didn't wear shoes, but when you got to the river, all of a sudden you put on shoes? Amrulu kula orchel chazina b'may chazina b'may lo ka chazina. He says, well, the rest of the way I was able to see what was on the ground. If there was a problem, I would avoid it. In the water, you can't see what's what when he's crossing the water, and therefore he needed to put on his shoes so that he shouldn't, get bitten by anything or anything like that. How come when you got to the thorns and thistles, you lifted up your clothing so that they shouldn't get ripped? He said to them, he says, well, because if I lift up my clothing and then my flesh is exposed, and the thorns and the thistles may sort of scratch him, so it'll heal. But if the thorns and the thistles tear the clothing, it will not heal. How come when you got home to your city, your wife came out all adorned? So Amalu said to them, that I shouldn't look at any other women. So if she comes out adorned, so then I won't be distracted by anything else. My time Ayla hi Beresha Vihadar Ailmar Abasra. How come your wife entered into the house first and then you entered afterwards? Vihadar Alina and Onon, and then we went after both of you. Amlu. So Abachilkia says to them, Mishum Delo Badkaya. One second. Okay. Mishum Delo Badkaya. But Kisu. Where am I? Fine. Kidei Amalu Mishum Delo Badkisuli, because I don't know who you people are, and therefore, I figured let her go in first, then I'll go, then you go, since I don't exactly know who you people are. My time Kikarach my Rifta Lo Amerlon Esu Krochu. How come when you were eating, you didn't invite us to eat with you? Mishum de lo nefisha rifta. Well, because there wasn't so much bread. V'amina, and I figured it says abechel kilo achzik behu b'rabbanan tivus bechinam. I didn't have enough food to actually offer them, so I didn't want to sort of give an empty offering. Right? Kilo, oh, do you want food? Knowing that like the rabbis are going to say no, but at least that way it makes him look good because you offered them food. He just said, look, we don't have enough food, so I'm not going to offer you anything. My time yoav mar linuka. But and he figured like I won't offer anything, and therefore I don't need to sort of have this fake sort of flattery by them thinking that I offered them something, knowing that they were going to say no. My time yoav mar linuka kshisha chada rifta lezutra tray. How come you give the older child one bread and the younger child two breads? Well, because the older child is at home, whereas the younger child is in the study hall. And therefore, the older child who's at home has food more readily available. Excuse me. That was bad. Whereas the younger child is in the study hall all day, so he needs more food when he gets home. My time akadim saluk anone meach zavisa davas kaima devisu demar la anone didei. How come the corner where your wife was standing got rain clouds before where you were standing? Well, because your wife is usually around the house. V'yabu rifta le'aniyeh u'mekarva nayosa. And when poor people come by the house collecting for money, so she can give them money which is immediately usable. No, I'm sorry, the opposite. She can give them bread which is immediately usable. Whereas I only give poor people money, and it needs sort of, it needs an extra step, which is they receive the money, then they have to go buy something with the money, and only after that can they eat. Whereas my wife is home, and when poor people come, she can just give them food directly, and it's more streamlined. Inami, or else Hanu biryone dav b'shivusan ono bayrachame lemusu vi bayrachame dilaju b'tiyuvta vi ihaju. He says alternatively, there were these nudniks in my city, and I kind of wanted to just sort of like essentially terminate them. I wouldn't be. It would be okay if they just got terminated, if they died, because they're nudniks. Whereas my wife didn't take that stance. Rather, she prayed that rather than that they should die, but just that they should do tshuva. And in fact, they did do tshuva. So therefore, she's sort of greater in some ways than Abba Chilkia, and the rain came to her corner first. Chonon anachba, by Barti d'choni amaygol ava. So Chonon, the modest, was a grandchild of Choni Amaygol, the son of his daughter. Ki matztu chama lemitra, when the world needed rain, have mishadra abonu yunuke devei rav legabe. So the rabbis would send little children to Chonon and Echbo, v'naktile b'shipule glime, and they would sort of tug on his cloak. V'amule, they would say to him, Abba, havlon mitra, Father, give us rain. Then said to God, Ribono shel olam, Master of the world, aseh b'shvil elu, do for these little kids who are tagging on my cloak and saying Abba, shin makirin ben Abba de yoiv mitra, lab de lo yoiv mitra, that that these little kids who are tugging on my cloak clearly do not know the distinction between the real Eibishter who can bring rain and then just me and me. Alright. Why did they call him Chonon the modest? Because he's very modest in the bathroom. He's very modest in the bathroom, that's what they call him Chonon HaNechba. Alright. Sounds nice. So Zrika Taka says to Reb Safra, Tochazi, come and see, what's the difference between the great people of Eretz Yisrael and the Chasidim of Bavel. Chassidim the Bavel, Rav Huna, Rav Chizda. Wow, the Chassidim of Bavel are Rav Huna and Rav Chizda. Kava mitzrich alma lemitra. When the world needed rain, Amre, they said Nichnov hadade v'nibai rachmi. So they said Nichnif hadade. Why don't we gather together and pray Efsher Dimratze Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and maybe the Eibishter will be appeased, V'yese Mitra, and he will bring rain. So we see, so Rashi kind of has two explanations about what it could be saying over here. One is that it required two of them, both Rav Chizda and Rav Huna, or that it's that they said, like, let's go out and let's go and sort of on a more public way pray for rain, and then everybody knows that it's them. Tkifa Da'ar Yisrael, we go to Rabbi Yonah Avua, the Rab Mani, and the great people of Eretz Yisrael is like Rabbi Yonah, the father of Rab Mani. When they would need rain, have a ayah lebeise, he would go home. The Amrlu, and he would say to the people there, in Havuli govalki, bring me my govalki, my sack. Ve'ezov eisili bezuzi bura, and I'll go out to the market and buy grain for a zuz. That's a very expensive price for grain, but nonetheless, he says, look, it's there's no rain. This is what it costs. Let me go out and buy some stuff. Okay, buy some grain. Then once he left the house, he went to a very deep place. That I call out to you, God, from the depths. And he was in a sort of modest place, and he covered himself in the sack, and he prayed for mercy from God, and it began to rain. When he got back home, they said to him, did you bring any grain home? He said to them, he said, well, now that it's going to rain, so we don't really need to go out and buy wheat right now at the very expensive price of a zuz. Now that it's raining, we can sort of wait a little bit for the prices to go down. So we see in that case, he was able to bring rain on his own, and he would go to like a quiet little place in order to bring that rain. Visu, and another story, Rab Mani, Rab Mani, his son, Abu Kamatzari Ledvenesiya. They were giving him a hard time at the Benesiya. Ishtatach al kivud avos. So Rab Mani went and he sort of prostrated himself on his father's grave, Rab Yonah. So Rab Mani went and he prostrated himself on his father Rab Yonah's grave. Omar le, he said to him, Abba, my father, hanim mitzarili, these people are giving me a hard time. Yom Echad, Abu Kachal Osam, and one time the Benesiya, they were traveling by Rabbi Yonah's grave. In Kud Kara disvasayu adi kabilu aled lo kamitzaru. And the leg of their horse just got attached to the ground and they wouldn't be able to go and leave until they accepted upon themselves not to harm Rab Mani anymore. Right? So Mani was having a hard time. He went to the grave of his father, Rab Yonah. He asked for him to intervene to help him against the Benesiya, and basically intervened by when they passed by his grave, their horses got stuck until they said that they would leave Rab Mani alone. Okay. Fine. Visu, another story, Rab Mani, have a shchiach kamid Rab Yitzchok ben Elyashiv. Rab Mani was often by Rab Yitzchok ben Elyashiv, Amr lei, and he said to him, Asirei dveichami komitzayerli, and Rab Mani said to Rab Yitzchok ben Elyashiv that the wealthy people in my father-in-law's household are giving me a hard time. Amr le'anu. So Rab Yitzchok ben Elyashiv says, well, if they're so wealthy and they're giving you a hard time, maybe they should become poor. They became poor. Amr ka'dachaku li. To which Reb Mani then returned to Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yoshev and he says, look, they're giving me a hard time now because they need my help, now that they're poor. Amr li asu. So Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yoshev says, well then, they should become wealthy again. V'yasu, they became wealthy. Amr lo mikabli olei inshe beisi. Reb Mani says to Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yoshev that his wife wasn't beautiful enough for him. Amr li mashma Chana. So he says to Reb Mani, what's her name? Chana. Her name is Chana. Tisyapi Chana. Okay. Chana should become very, very, very beautiful. Alright. Nisyafas. And she did. They caught Migandra Olai. Then he said, wait, now my wife, now that she's very, very beautiful, she's like looking down upon me. So Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yoshev says, well, if that's the case, then she should just go back to how she was before. Hanutrei Talmidei Abu Kame to Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yoshev. There were these two students that were in front of Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yoshev. Amrulei, they said to him, Nibai Marachme Allah Nechakim Tuva. Pray for us that we should become very smart. Amrulei, he said to them, Imi Yosef v'shalachtia. Look, I don't have those powers of prayers anymore. Right? So while he was able to just pray for someone, they should become rich, and they became rich. Poor, they would become poor. Right? So these students said hey, can you pray for us that we should become wise, that we should become very smart? And he says, look, I don't have those powers anymore. Very, very interesting. Yitzchak ben Yoshev. Anyways, friends, that was Daf Chav Gimel Masechta Taanis. Of course, I hope you enjoyed it. We talked about Choni HaMaigel, talked about his grandchildren, Rabbi Abachilkia and Chonin Anachba. They were also able to bring rain, which is super interesting. We learned about the story where Choni HaMaigel fell asleep for 70 years. Super interesting story. Friends, that was Daf Chav Gimel. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.